Hey folks, Tommy here. Welcome to the drum dungeon. Well, not really a dungeon anymore, but it used to be at my other house. Now it's a super sweet room that I also use as my office. But we need to tame this room because it is echoey. Oh! Oh! Really bad. So we're going to do that with sound absorption and diffusion. But diffusion is the name of the game today. These are the diffusers I built. Now, since I'm a drummer and I'm going to be recording drums in here 98% of the time, I don't really care to try to tune my room to a specific frequency. I'm going with the anything is better than nothing technique. So I talked to a super famous producer, recording engineer, friend of mine about this, and that's where I got the idea. Anything is better than nothing. So we're going to find out. So first thing I guess I'm going to do is, before I hang up the panels on the wall right there, I'm going to play a little. I think I'll play the intro and half of the first verse to Echoes Down the Road by West of House. That makes sense because it's echoey in here. Then I'll hang up the diffusers. Then we'll play it again and we'll see how it sounds. And then I'll explain how I built the diffusers. Let's see how this goes. But before we do that, let me show you what I'm going to be using for mics. I'm just going to be using room mics today. So we have overheads. Then I have my center mic here, condenser. And then I've got a ribbon mic here coming off of both sides, picking up sounds on both sides. Then I have 257s in the corners to get a little room ambience. So now, here we go. All right, so that sounded pretty good. Let's go ahead and put the diffusers up and see what kind of difference it makes, if any. I hope it makes some difference. Hey folks, before I throw those things on the wall and let you hear the difference and see the difference, I'm gonna go ahead and explain how I built those. So let's get to that. Okay, before I show you my prototype, this is what I use. This is just basically a 2x4, not quite 2, you can see it's a little narrower, but 8-foot piece of cedar from Lowe's. Home Depot doesn't carry this. And then these are the fence pickets I use for the middle of it, a 4 and a 6-inch wide. And I actually get these at Home Depot because their fence pickets, for whatever reason, are 1/16 inch thicker, which makes it a little easier to put this together, and you'll see why. So here's my prototype. I built another one, and I was just using these 4-inch fence pieces, and I didn't like it as much, so I took it apart, and I worked in some of these 6-inch, and I like it much better. So basically, to build one of these, I need one of each of these. I need one 8-foot piece for the frame, and then one 6-inch and one 4-inch picket. And together, all of that is a little under $11, so not too bad. So the top and the bottom are 24 inches. And then they do the sides on the inside, so 24 minus the width of 2 of these. And then I do all the pickets on the middle the same way, the same length. So I just need to cut 2 at 24 and then a whole bunch at that length. As for assembly, I'm just using 1.5-inch brad nails. You can see all the holes to hold the pickets in. And then I'm using the brad nails just to put the frame together, and then running one of these really cool composite deck screws into each corner. And it holds up really well. It's pretty tight. With all of these pieces here getting pulled together from the top, it's pretty tight. So here's the cool thing about this design that I think I like, is I can mount it that way, and then the next one I can mount, you know, a different way, and it still looks cool, I think. But now the sound waves are going to be going in a different direction, and I can just alternate it for every piece that I put up, either 90 degrees or 180 degrees. And then you can also, of course, hang it up like a diamond, which I think I'm going to do as well. But I don't have enough wood to make more than 4 of these, so I'm just going to make 4 of these right now. So I'm going to go ahead and cut all this up, and then I'll show you a trick to measuring these shorter pieces. That way you don't need to actually measure this piece. So I don't think you need to watch me cut. You probably don't want to watch me cut, so I'm not even going to record it. However, I will show you that we have some different angles here on each one of these, and I bought this tool to measure the angle so I can make them all the same. I may adjust this one a little bit, so I think maybe this angle might be a little sharper, but like I said earlier, it doesn't really matter because I'm not going for anything specific, just something. Going for something is better than nothing. And then the last thing before I get going, I sanded the small ones when I did my first prototype just to see if I liked it, because I was going to rent a planer and plane them all, but I don't think it's necessary. But even if you don't sand this, that looks pretty cool, because the 6-inch pieces I didn't sand, and I kind of like those too. But I think I'm going to sand them all. And the cedar looks great, raw, unfinished. You can put an oil on it or stain it, I imagine. But I'm not even going to worry about that. And it's super light. This thing weighs nothing. I think 1 screw in the wall is all it's going to take. And if you look in the back, there's plenty of places to mount it. I have open space all the way around in the corners. And you could actually hang it backwards, I guess, if you wanted to. Doesn't really matter, I hope, because I'm just shooting blind, shooting from the hip, I guess. All right, be back after the cuts. Okay, the first round of cuts are done. I have a bunch of 24-inch pieces, and I got to get this done quick because check that out. Storm's coming. All right, so I said there's a trick that I use to figure out how to set your inside piece. So we need to have the next piece 24 minus whatever this is. I don't really care what that is, because I'm just going to stick it over here on the end, and then hold on. Let me push this board up there. So now I have the board up against my 2 pieces, so that's the right length. So I'll cut this one, then I'll set my guide to that piece, and then I'll be good for all the rest of my cuts. And of course you don't need a chop saw for this, but it helps a little bit. All right, I got everything cut nice and quick and clean, just in time for this crazy storm to come in. So next step, sand all these down. I'm gonna use a palm sander, 120 grit maybe, 150. We'll see. Probably don't have to sand down the frames because these are finished on one side. So if you want the inside looking nice, then have at it. Okay, we'll see you when I'm done. All right, everyone, here it is, all the wood cut. I actually bought enough wood to make 2 more of these, so I'm making 6 now. And when I did that, I realized I gave you the wrong price for the wood. So it costs about $16 or $17 to build one of these, because one piece of the frame is $11.75. A piece of the 3.5 or 4 inch is about $2.16, and a piece of the 6 inch is about $2.68. So you're in the $16 to $17 range to make one. So let's make one. So here you go, folks. I have my 6 frames built. Went pretty smoothly. I just tacked them all with a brad nail, then went through and put in a deck screw in each joint, and they're pretty solid. This wood is super light, so I don't think we're gonna have a problem. And then all of the other pieces are gonna go in here and be pulling down with this. So, oh, that's beautiful, huh? I need to go by and sand these a little bit better, but I did use a pilot screw hole, a pilot hole for these screws, so there wouldn't be any cracking, and there wasn't, but I don't know that it matters because the first one I made, I didn't do a pilot hole and there was no cracking. So now the fun part, we're gonna put those in these. So let's do one. Well, here they are, 6 diffusers, and these 4 I have just spun around. So you can see the 4 different ways that can be mounted. And the other 2 are over here. I thought they turned out pretty well. I didn't miss any boards with the brad nailer, so my eyes are still straight. Now all I have to do is figure out how I want to hang them. I'm thinking I'm going to need to build 4 more. 8 for sure, maybe 10 total. So let's see what we want to do with these. Okay, so these are my diffusers here, and I'm going to hang them up on the wall. I'm going to center them, and I should probably show you the pattern. No, I'll show you the pattern when it's done. Anyway, I have the wall marked right there. That is the dead center of the wall, up and down, side to side. So we're going to hang up based on that. And I'm going to hang them up diagonally so they'll be diamond shaped on the wall, which works out really well because I've got lots of space in the back to hang them up. And I'm going to use the heavy duty monkey hooks. These guys, I think everybody's probably seen these. You stick them in the wall and this part hangs out. And just going to hang it on there, no problem. Got my laser level ready. So I'm going to throw a line on the wall, get these hung up, and then we'll see what we think. Thought I'd show you a little quick action of how this is going here. I only have 3 Gorilla hooks, so I need to get more. But anyway, you can see the laser on the wall. I have it centered pretty much. My floor is bouncy. It moves the laser when I walk. I just mark the distance and hang it up. Coming together. Hey folks, as you can see, I'm in the middle of getting my diffusers put up. And I thought it was going to be a simple put one up, measure, put the other one up, measure, and everything will look good. If I come out this way, you can kind of see everything's kind of lining up. But it wasn't that simple, so what I ended up doing was not building out the last frame and using it as a template so I can find out where to mark for my hangers. So I would suggest doing that. It's kind of hard here with like the phone cam, but make one of these frames so you can set it up and mark where you want to put your hook or your attachment or whatever you're using. I'm using Gorilla hooks and they're working great. So that's the one thing I just learned. Build a frame, use it as a template, and then once you have them all marked, finish the last one, which is pretty quick. I just built 3 of them last night. It takes about 15 or 20 minutes to build one once all the wood's cut. And bam, they're up. I think, what do I have, 10 there? 10 diffusers. Turned out pretty good. It was a little harder to hang them perfect. So they're not, but it's kind of cool. If you look at it, the different shadows on them is going to reflect the sound the same way in a different angle, bunch of different angles. So as you recall, I built 4 different patterns. Well, one pattern, but you can rotate it 4 different ways. And all the pieces are a little different angles. So you can see this top one here, that's one pattern. And then I switched it for here, switched it here, switched it here. And then it just turned out that the 3 across the top are angling the same way, but they're 180 degrees. And looks pretty good. I'm gonna call it good. So I'm gonna go ahead and record now, and we'll see what it sounds like with the diffusion. Here you go. All right, I thought that sounds pretty good. Again, you can hear a difference in there, I hope. Subtle, but it's there. So every little bit helps. I'm going to put some absorption panels up next, and I'll do a video on that. But before I do that, I'm going to build one of these for the ceiling. I don't really know yet the pattern or anything, but I will share it when I get it. I think the one thing I might do differently, or I still could do, is router these edges down, put an angle on them, like a 45 or something, just to give it another angle, since this face is parallel with this face. But it may not matter. So we'll see. Anyway, the cedar worked out great. It smells good in here. It's nice and fresh. I'm just really happy with it. And hopefully it inspires you to do something similar or something even better. I'm sure there's a math wizard out there that can say which angle each one of these boards needs to be, and they're all different on each one of them. Even though some of them look the same, I don't know what the difference between a 45 and a 50-degree angle is going to do, but everything's a little different, and you can just see it there. So I'm gonna step back one time and let you take a good look at it. Hope you all enjoyed the video, and you know, keep rocking those drums, y'all. This is Tommy, and I'm GT5000.